Okay, time for another episode of Cool Dude Clem's Electronic Workshop. Welcome to Cool Dude Clem's Electronic Workshop with me, your host, Cool Dude Clem. Well, some people say I'm retarded, so I thought I'd do a really retarded intro this time. If you may remember, in the previous video, I was making a power supply. Well, I thought it was about time that I started work on the rest of it. So I've got lots of parts here that I've put lots of wires on. Let's just show some of these bits. We've got a switch connected to a rectifier. There's going to be more about that later. Got some main filter capacitors. Decided to use 1000 volt, I don't mean 1000 volt, I mean 1000 microfarad capacitors. These are 50 volts each, so I've put them in parallel. So we have 2000 microfarads with 50 volts, able to handle 50 volts. Here's our transformer. Variable resistor for the positive and negative voltage regulation. And of course the voltage regulator chips themselves. We've got an LM317. I don't know how well you can see that. I'm just trying to hold it in the camera, but on one side we got an LM337 and an LM317 for negative and positive voltage regulation. So I think it's about time I put this all together. So I think the first thing we can start with is the transformer. Oh, and I'm using an external microphone this time, which is this one here. Some people have asked about this microphone. It's really nothing special. I just got a electric capacitor microphone in there, and that's on a little rubber thing with the wire coming out, and I just put that on a piece of wood. So anyway, in the previous video you might have noticed, well, you might have heard that I was going to use all the taps on this transformer. Well, I've got these two taps here for the adjustable 12 volt output, which you saw in the previous video. That's been put to one side for now. The other end of the wire's not actually going to anything at all. What I've decided to do is have this so I can switch in. I can switch between the two different output taps on this transformer, and that's what this switch is for. Here, that's going to be, one side of the switch is going to be connected up to these two, and the other side of the switch is going to be connected up to these two, so I can select which taps of the transformer I want to use. And that way, I can operate the voltage regulators at two different voltages, so if I'm powering something at a low voltage, there's not going to be too much difference between the input and the output of the voltage regulators, so they're... Because the thing is with these is, if there's too much difference between the input voltage and the output voltage, even if you're powering something, say only about 300 milliamps or so, they're going to get pretty hot. So use a lower input voltage when I want to power the more lower voltage things, and it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, well, here we go. Got our transformer wired up to our switch here, the rectifier and the capacitors for our positive and negative supply. Hopefully nothing will blow up when I turn this on, because all these things can blow up if you mistreat them. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened. And I've got the switch set to the lower voltage secondary, which is this one here. And I've got the middles of those two secondaries connected right here, which I'm using as the ground. I've also got the meter connected, the meter's ground connected there as well. So I'm just going to put the meter probe on one of these capacitors. I'm going to put it on this one here. We should get a positive voltage, so turn the power on and let's see what we get. Okay, we got 14 volts on that capacitor. Now here we should have negative 14 volts. Okay, we've got negative 14.4. Well, that's close enough. So I'm now going to flip this switch and we'll see what the voltage changes to. Okay, and now we've got 26 volts now on there and on here. About the same. So let's see what we have between those two capacitors. This could be quite interesting. Oh yeah, and I've just tied that wire up onto the wall to get it out of the way, but let's have a look at what voltage we have between these two capacitors, and we have about 53 volts there. So if I was to touch that, it would probably shock me, and I'm not going to experiment with that. That might even be enough to get a little bit of light out of a mains voltage light bulb. Of course, it's 240 volts over here. So I'm going to have about a quarter of the voltage going in, but it's just out of curiosity, let's see if it does make it light at all. Oh yeah, yep, we can get a little bit of light out of that. But just get a good enough connection. Anyway, guess I need to make a wire these up to the voltage regulators. Right, okay, hopefully we've got sound recording properly. Sorry about the last video if it was a bit staticky, having a few sound problems here. Anyway, I just got to clear all this stuff away, and oh, I almost made a Medes, don't know how to pronounce it, but almost had a little accident there. Got to discharge this thing, and I don't know why I'm trying to discharge it through my meter. Just going to discharge these caps. Maybe they're already discharged. Alright, let me just double check that. I didn't see the light bulb glow at all. Okay, those caps are discharged. I'll just put all this to one side. I know one cap that's not discharged, that's this one. There, discharged. And I don't think I was holding it in the camera. Made a nice little spark there, and I don't think you got to see it. Oh well. Anyway, now this little board here that I'm doing, this is what the regulators are going to be connected to, and I've got two little sockets here that I'm going to put the regulators in. Wondering where I got these from? Well, old discarded TVs and things like that are a gold mine for electronic components. This is, you know, and crusty old batteries as well. So, like I was saying, the power is going to go into these three wires here. We've got the ground, positive and negative. Got three output wires as well. All that I've got to connect up to this circuit board, apart from the regulators, is this variable resistor for the voltage control. So I'm just going to wire that up. Well, here is the moment of truth, everybody. I've wired up the variable resistor to the rest of this little circuit. I've connected the transformer up. I'm just going to make sure before I power on that I'm connected to the low voltage output. Okay, so we're going to turn on. I've got the meter connected to the positive output. Well, the variable voltage positive output, so I'm going to turn on. And let's see what we get. Alright, well, you have 13 volts positive out of this thing. I'm just going to twiddle this and see if we get different voltages, and yes we do. So that's a good sign. That means the positive voltage regulator seems to be working. Okay, I'm now going to connect up the negative regulator, see if that's doing the same thing. So I'll just put that wire down there for the time being, and let's connect up our negative regulator. We should be having, okay, we got about -9 volts there. I don't know what I had the voltage set to when I'm measuring the positive voltage regulator, but see if this one's working. Oh yes, it certainly is. That's looking good. And we can't get much more than about 13 volts there, so yeah. Alright, let's switch to the other secondary on the transformer. Hopefully nothing blows up. Alright, we're now on the secondary. We're now on the other one, so we should be able to get much higher voltages this time. Let's see. Yes, look at that. Don't know how high we can actually make this go. I'm just going to turn this up some more. About 23 volts there. Just shy of 24 volts. Well, 1 volt shy of 24 volts. Alright, I've got that set to about 19.3. So let's see what we're getting out of the positive voltage regulator. Really should have put both my meters on here. That would have solved things, but still. We got here. Okay, we got 20 volts here. Okay, so it's a little unbalanced, but certainly nothing to complain about. I think, as they'd say on EEV blog, we have a winner. So that just about wraps it up for this episode of Cool Dude Clem's Electronic Workshop. Next episode is going to be building a nice enclosure for this. I'm going to build my own enclosure out of wood, of course. Just make sure nothing's getting hot. It shouldn't be. Yep, that's nice and cold. So, that's it for Cool Dude Clem's Electronic Workshop for today. And until next time, goodbye.